Hey guys, welcome to the 22nd episode of the Learning Podcast. And if you aren't sure, it's a Singaporean podcast dedicated to learning something new from every single guest on this show. And today I have a classmate I met at the NUS Business School. I actually reached out to her. Her name is Sherrine. Sherrine, say hi.
Hi everyone.
Okay, a couple of reasons why I think this conversation might be helpful. Sherrine is probably, I would say, a model NUS business student. She's a badass business student. Why do I say that? Because when it comes to strategizing, you would say being a good university student, right? I was not a good university student. I didn't really prioritize anything. But if you are a person that really wants to do well in university, I believe that Sherrine here can share some of her processes, strategies, her experience in how she went to look for internships, all those kind of stuff. Sherrine also has taken part in a few notable case competitions, P&G case competitions. Any other case competitions do you join?
Unilever.
Okay. P&G and Unilever case competition. So, for that, right, I think that is the ideal route that most business students would want to go through. The second reason why I think this conversation might be helpful is that Sherrine currently works at Mondelez. The third reason why I think that this conversation might be helpful is that Sherrine, like myself, we have just graduated from NUS Business School, and I think that our conversations around our outlook, our goals after university is something that I think it's worth talking about, and I hope that we can have real conversations in a sense about where our priorities are, whether it's a materialistic goals that we want to achieve, relationship goals that we want to achieve, emotional goals that we want to achieve, or whether we are in a midlife crisis, mid-university life crisis, all those kind of stuff. I think that it would be useful to share with others through this conversation. So that's a mouthful. Sherrine, for those listeners that don't know who you are, could you give a quick introduction of what you're currently doing?
So I've actually graduated same batch as JJ. I graduated in July. Then I started my rotation as a management trainee in Mondelez. It's like a rotational basis. So I'm at my second rotation now in doing trade marketing. So my passion actually lies in the FMCG industry because of basically my internship background and also like how dynamic the industry is.
So going all the way back, right, to JC days, right, why NUS Business School?
Okay, that's a very good question. So how I picked up in university was there were three main ones, right? SMU, NUS, and NTU. So I kind of know that I wanted hall life because it just seems like something that is like more
university.
So it was between NTU and NUS.
Yes.
When I went to the open house, that's something that everyone should really like try to attend, and then you can experience like how's the life like in the university.
Was there any difference between the open house of NTU and US?
I think mainly NTU is a bit hard more difficult to access, like the
because
campus.
It's super long. Okay, super far.
The campus itself. For NUS, I think I spoke to some of the representatives, like the professors, and then they like really showed me how vibrant the culture is like, and then also we have some programs that other universities might not offer. So like for example, overseas opportunities or like entrepreneurship. So
why specifically NUS Business School? Why not other kinds of majors, economics, FESS, science, chemistry? Why business particularly?
Because I come from a JC background with arts as my major, numbers was not my forte. So like for example, economics, that's definitely not something that I would pursue. I think because I used to, my teachers told me that economics is more like a lot of calculations. I also didn't really know what I wanted to do before I entered university. So I wanted something that's broad, and slowly then I can zoom in. Did
this conclusion that you arrived at, was it by yourself or was it from your parents, from friends? Like what were friends deciding? Because for me, right, I mean, the reason why I chose NUS Business School, was exactly the same as you. Like I didn't know what to do, so I just chose something broad. But that was something that technically I would say my parents gave me that advice. So I was like, I didn't know about the world, right? So I just took it. But how do you arrive at the conclusion of choosing business school? Because I think it's interesting to see how, if let's say I'm imagining that there's this JC student at the end, right? How can he or she choose a particular course and probably not regret it? Because I've seen a lot of my friends from JC, I'm not sure about you, they're all scholars essentially. Then they take the scholarship and then the first thing I see when I meet them after like a couple of years, they tell me they want to break their bond straight away. So it's like, how do you arrive at the conclusion of choosing business school and not perhaps taking a scholarship? Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, there's so many questions, right? How do you arrive to that conclusion of? Did anyone give you that advice, or I'm just curious to find out how you decided that business school was something for you?
Okay. As in, I think it's mainly influenced by my friends also. So I have some close friends from JC and secondary school. They chose business as well. And I started off actually as a double degree. Then so it was business and communications. So initially business, I wanted to do finance.
Yes.
And then communications would be definitely like marketing. So I would have two things to choose from once I graduate. And then I can decide which one I'm leaning towards.
Okay, so going to NUS Business School, right? Maybe the first thing I can ask you, do you have any regrets from NUS Business School?
Okay. I think regret will definitely be I think maybe two regrets. Not really regrets, but I think what I would like maybe work on, like, or I would tell like the next, let's say the next my juniors.
Yes.
Yeah. One is to always make use of the career services that your school offer. So grades are not everything, because at the end of the day, no matter how well you do, right, it's about finding that job or like starting up that business that you wanted. For example, NUS Business, they have their own career office.
Yes.
Career service office.
Yeah, I went there as well.
Yeah, you have your own advisor. So I only started going there in year 4 when I was looking for a job.
Year 4 semester 2? Yes.
Semester
1, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so but I think you can start earlier.
Yes.
Definitely. So I think
like what made you want to approach career services in the first place? Or was it like because you know that time is ticking, right, and it was the end of graduation? Why didn't you go sooner or later?
Okay. I think because you think that university is very long, there's 4 years. First 2 years you can have fun. Then only the third and the last year you can be more serious. So I actually I had that thinking. I wanted to have to enjoy first, and then I'll get more serious. That's why I started later. And then there was this once my friend actually told me, time is running out. Why are you still not serious? Because in year 3, then I found my first internship. Yeah, and a lot of people, they started in year 1, year 2.
Yes.
Yeah, that was when I realized, I need to attend this talks, attend these trainings and these mock assessment centers. Yeah, so that is, I think, something that I will start
make use of.
Yeah.
What's the second regret?
Second regret, I think, is also planning my modules, knowing what I want to do. Because initially I wanted to do finance when I was on exchange and when I was clearing my finance modules, specialization modules. I actually cleared quite a few 3,000 modules, which were more challenging. Yeah, and then in the end, when I finally decided I wanted to do marketing instead, I switched all these finance modules into my UEs, which is a waste.
Okay.
Yeah, so on exchange I cleared my UEs instead. Yeah, so because I didn't plan properly and I took one LOA, I had to graduate off cycle, which is in December. And
wait, you graduated in December?
No, I didn't. So because I didn't want to graduate off cycle, I packed my modules such I graduate in 3.5 years. Yeah, so the last few sems I was taking 8 modules, 7 modules, so I can graduate on time. Yeah.
As for context, right, Sherrine and I were actually classmates.
Yeah.
When were we classmates? I can't remember.
Last sem, right?
Is it the last sem?
Yeah.
So you only had 3.5. Okay, I get it. You 6 months delay and you packed 8 modules into the last semester.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay, I see. Why did you transition from finance to marketing?
Because I started off uni with the thinking, I think it's a very Asian thinking, or what my parents have also.
They wanted you to be wanted you work in a bank or something?
Yeah, so there is this thinking that if you are doing finance, that is where all the
money
is coming from. Yeah, so that was what going into university pretty aimless. I just thought that would be the path I was gonna take. I didn't really
ask yourself what you really wanted, is it?
Yeah, correct. So only in year 3 again, I thought to myself, because I did quite a few finance modules, and then I asked myself, do I enjoy doing what I'm doing now? The next question I asked is, if you're okay with it, can you see yourself doing it for the rest of your life. And
when did this specific realization strike you? Like, was it a conversation with your friend, or like these kind of things are like immediate things that you can ask yourself at any one time, but was there a trigger to it?
I think it's after exchange. After I came back from exchange, then I realized, wow, like so many things that I missed out.
So were you like taking finance modules, is it? Then you're like, why am I doing this? Is something like that?
Yeah, correct.
Why marketing instead of like operations management? Human resources, I think there's a lot of majors, entrepreneurship, why marketing?
Yeah.
Over the others.
When I strike finance out, right, it was between the other three. So that was when I took on my first internship, which was a LOA with L'Oreal for 6 months. When I was working on that role, it kind of solidified my interest because I was was more keen in the role that I was doing, and then I also see like my brand managers doing what are the tasks that they're doing. But it wasn't very strong until when I took the first 3000 marketing mod.
Which module was this?
3402, I think. Consumer behavior.
By Doreen.
Yes. I had 2 classes under her. So when she taught me all the marketing concepts, and there were a lot of cases. I think her classes is mainly a lot of like analyzing she'll give like booklet with like case questions and stuff. So that was the point where I realized, I really enjoy doing all this kind of analyses, and marketing is not, initially you thought it's like all fluff.
Yes. But
actually,
is it all fluff?
I would say like there's a balance. Like you need to have, definitely just having the skills to kind of like fluff is not enough. You need to have like deeper analysis, I think. Also, I joined quite a few case competitions with my friends.
Oh yes, please share about your P&G and Unilever. How are these case competitions like? I have no idea.
For Unilever, I joined the Future Leaders League, which is their case competition. So you first start off with submitting a video. So they'll give you a case, and then the question and booklet, everything. They ask you to create something.
What kind of case is it? Are you allowed to just share very vaguely what kind of? I mean, I'm sure there are listeners out there that don't. I don't know what, like, I've never participated in something like that before. So, what kind of cases do they give you?
So it was a case about toothpaste.
Okay.
So because it's a FMCG company, so they tell you what is the current consumer trend in toothpaste, or what are some risks that this brand is facing, and then you have to devise something that maybe like a new innovation or a new campaign, or like how can you sell more of this item, introduce this new item.
So how was your approach to it?
We work in a group of 3.
Okay.
So we first started, the first stage was a video creation. So it was a 3 minutes video.
Okay.
We had like maybe 1 to 2 weeks to prepare for it, and then there was a lot of discussion, and some prototypes were made about the toothpaste and like the thinking behind it.
So the video, is it like a particular video ad, or is it like a video presentation of what you guys want to do for the toothpaste?
Video presentation.
Or video presentation?
Yeah, correct. I think we didn't sleep for very long. Because we were filming.
How long was this over? Like over 5 days or over weeks?
We had about 1 week to do, but we only started like 2 to 3 days before the actual submission because we had our school and like exams. So after that stage, then there'll be, I think it's the semi-finals, and then they will shortlist some people, and then we'll get presentation. We'll prepare presentation deck.
A live presentation?
Yeah, correct.
At Unilever, or will they come down?
Unilever.
Or at the office itself?
Yeah, correct. Then from
was
there,
it very stressful? Like, how competitive was it?
I think
how many people usually apply at the first round, and how many people go on to the semi-finals?
I think maybe about 40 to about 60 videos were made. So I think about 200-300 people.
200-300 people. Okay.
Yeah. Then they shortlist into 16 groups. So and then the final round was 8 groups. Semi-finals, and then they will shortlist 8 groups, and then the last round was very interesting because we got to go into the 1 acre. There was like accommodations, and then you get like a 1 night stay there. It's very interesting, and then you present on the stage in front of the management team. That was quite an interesting experience. And then I think you have to sacrifice a lot of sleep. And then a lot of like confidence you have to boost.
What were the biggest takeaways from participating in this case competition?
I think biggest takeaways would be confidence, because like when you are in NUS Business School, you always have to present, but the kind of like I don't know.
Stress.
The stress.
The stress is not as much, is it?
In business school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Correct.
Because you know that it's just a grade, you can pass it. But
Yeah.
when you're presenting to like that big ass company, right?
Yeah.
It's more stressful.
Yeah, correct. And I think also because you want to, because it's all your hard work, and I mean if you win, there's like also like benefits involved. There's like a lot of pressure on you to like try to do your best and
be your best.
Yeah, because in school you kind of know your peers, you kind of know your professors. Yeah, so I think confidence is something that was very something that I learned to build up.
It's a hard process that forces you to be better.
Yeah, correct. So also because like there's a lot of like time limit. So when they say 3 minutes, it's like really on the dot. You have to stop. Yeah. So you have to really practice beforehand. And even like on stage jitters, you have to like know how to calm it down and fake it till make it. Yeah.
How do you calm yourself down in such a big presentation?
I think I read this. I watched this TED talk by this lady. I think it's the power of body language.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's saying that if you are afraid before a presentation, you can go into somewhere private or maybe even the toilet. You can practice power poses.
Oh, that's what Leonard told me as well. Yeah, that's what Leonard told me.
Yeah, so because like there are some people who recommended, imagine they are all like watermelons or popsicle sticks.
Watermelons?
Yeah, okay. But I don't think that works for me. Yeah. So what I do is I practice power poses. Okay. I'll go to the toilet and then I'll practice.
Yeah, it helps like.
Yeah. And a lot of practicing. Yeah.
Practicing as in practicing a script?
Yeah, correct. Like during your free time. Yeah, so that helped to boost my confidence. And also when you are presenting itself, you have to tell yourself like you are the you can
do it.
Yeah, you're there for a reason, that kind of thing. So you can boost your own confidence. So it starts from yourself. Yeah, and that's how I feel like it can help a bit.
So you participated in the P&G CEO Challenges, is it? It's also a case competition by P&G. So how was that like?
Okay, so it's actually like a selection process for their internship program. So it's part of the internship application. So 30 people were shortlisted, and then after we took an online test, and then they grouped us into about groups of 5 to 6 people. And then
can you share more about this online test?
I think there were 3 tests. So they test about your like numerical reasoning, pattern finding,
pattern recognition.
Yeah, correct. And one more is about, I think, how you react under different circumstances.
Is it like is it a live thing, or like they give you a paragraph and you just type in how you would react?
It's like an online test. So for example, let's say this situation happened at work, what will you do? Then they give you a few options and then you decide. Yeah.
Okay.
So they really it's a gauge of your character and see whether it aligns with the company. Yeah. So we were grouped into like 5 or 6 people.
So you didn't have a choice to choose your group members?
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, so that was also something that's different from other case competition, because other case competition you can get to choose who you work with. So in this case, we had different specializations and
people coming from everywhere.
Yeah, correct, and different experiences generally. So some people don't have case background, or some people are very strong in it. Yeah, then we have to work together there's a case to be solved.
Similar to the ones that Unilever gave.
Yeah, correct. So they'll give you a case, and then you have, I think the time is more limited. We only have 48 hours to solve.
48 hours, so you didn't sleep lah.
48 or is that 2 or 3 days?
It's short lah.
Yeah, very short. Yeah. So we also had our school, so we could only discuss at night in the library.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so time was really very tight.
Was your groupmates consisted of students only from NUS, or were there SMU students, NTU students?
Luckily, my group was mainly NUS, but I know of other groups who have like mixed schools.
Okay. So in a sense, you're lucky lah.
Yeah, but some my group members, some of them were on LA, so they are working. So they came back to school to discuss. Yeah, so we had very limited slides we could have. I think they gave us a limit of maybe 6 to 8 slides.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have to work with what we could. So because initially we thought it was a marketing case, so our focus was mainly on like coming up the campaign and the product itself. But we realized.
Do you mind sharing specifically what product was the case about?
It's about Dynamo. So it's their detergent.
What is Dynamo? I don't even know what's Dynamo.
It's the detergent brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you get more revenue from it? Is it like what are the kind of questions that you had to solve?
It's I think they were facing there were some issues about the product itself, and then they give you some data like numbers on how they can sell it in another market. Then you have to kind of think of a way to make it like, how do you want to
do a market entry, the new market, or just solve the problem?
I think it's to solve the problem. So I think, how do you want to position this brand in the market? Because of changing preferences. Then our focus is mainly on the campaign itself and the product, because majority of us are marketing background, but we didn't realize that finance plays an equally important role. So that was towards the end, like the final few hours when we were scavenging for like clues on how we can use the data, how we can analyze.
The data set, was it like very messy, the data, or like it was just a huge chunk of data, right?
It's more like
revenue numbers, is it? Or?
Yeah, all those numbers, and we didn't place much emphasis on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
like marketing students.
Like ROI, when do you expect this
break-even point,
investment?
all this kind of stuff.
How do you justify this investment? So I realized that that's equally important in terms of finance. When we presented it, it seems like the judges kind of know that we didn't
utilize the data set.
We didn't, and we didn't work very well cohesively because of like our emphasis on campaign itself instead of like finance. So my group member who presented the financial portion, there was like this imbalance in presentation. So they could tell like there was this team dynamic. Like maybe we should place more emphasis. There should be more discussion. So that was the feedback we got. And from there I realized that it's important to discuss and beforehand, and also every portion is important.
So when it comes to suggestions on how to work better as a group, is there any macro advice you give?
Macro? I think...
or you just have to suck it up?
Okay, so I mean, like in business we work with a lot of different people, like even if sometimes it's not up to us to choose. So I think you have to suck it up, definitely. Like if really adopt to their style. So if let's say they don't show up to meetings, maybe you can drop them a reminder, or even suggest online meetings. Basically,
there is only so much you can do to involve them.
Correct. I think there's also like this thing, like if everyone don't agree on the same thing, then maybe you could come up with how do you persuade them. So in this case you can come up with like numbers, like success cases, or you can even take a vote, that kind. So those are the skills that you need. Actually, in the workplace also, you have to, even if you don't enjoy working with a particular person, you have to really
suck it up. Tahan.
Like learn how to adapt to their communication.
So obviously, right, you performed very well in NUS Business School as a Dean's Lister, right? Is there any top few advice would you give to existing business students who are currently struggling and wanting to improve their performance?
For those who are struggling, you are not alone. So
yes.
My uni journey, 4 years of university has not been like super smooth. So the first 2 years were like we'll call the
dark
confused period, because I didn't know what I wanted. Kind of have like a mid-university crisis, if that's how you term it. If you put it that way, So first 2 years, my grades really dropped to below second lower. So it was.
Do you mind sharing exact numbers?
I think it was a 3.7.
3.7 is okay,
3.7. So I was getting like I think 3 or 4 C's.
Which were these for finance modules?
There were finance, there was DSC, which was operations, and also entrepreneurship.
But do you find those modules really difficult, or you were surprised by the grades that you got?
I would say some I found it a bit I found it challenging, and then others is like, I think in terms of like there was some group works involved, so the weightage is quite high, so sometimes it depends on the project. Then so first 2 years I didn't do very well. Then until like in year 3 I decided to make like a specialization
Yeah.
change. Yeah, that I found like my passion and passion in marketing. So I was genuinely interested in the modules I was taking, and that was the period when I realized I need to kind of like get my life, like
Together.
university life
Okay.
together, like really figure out where I want to go. Yeah, then that was the period when I took charge of my learning. So what I do is like you have to plan out, like you have to read the content before class, prepare for it. Even like search on Carousel for notes from your seniors.
So do you buy notes?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay,
So
that's
you
interesting.
you can share with your friends, and you can share the costs as well. Yeah. So I think that generally is very helpful. Was very helpful for me. I think 3 people that you spend most of your time with are the people who's gonna influence you.
Yeah.
So you need to decide who you want to spend more time with and learn from them. Yeah. So
Are you saying that the friends that you spent in year 1 and year 2 are sun yo?
No.
For Chinese, like not very good influences? What do you mean?
like
Different priorities?
Yeah, different priorities. Yeah, so in year 1, I think I was more focused on like hall life, student life. Yeah, so subsequently, I was getting more serious. Then I became closer to people who were more career-minded. Yeah, or like even seniors. So I talked to people who were more senior than me, who are going to graduate or already graduated. Then I kind of like learn from their perspective. Yeah, then get advice from them on. Yeah.
Can I sidetrack, right? How is hall?
Hall, okay.
So is it right for me to say that hall activities, I know it's a very extreme thing to say because people have different priorities, right? A lot of hall people who are passionate about hall, I'll confirm get flamed, but I wasn't a very big fan of hall activities because I knew what I wanted to do, but would you say that all those activities were not as fruitful?
Okay.
Oh yeah. what would you say? How is hall like in general?
I think that actually when you enter university, there are 3 spheres, like three departments. So basically your faculty, your school, and your hall. Yeah. So I was involved in all these 3. So for example, I was in so basically I was involved in like school activity, school CCA, my faculty commitments, and halls CCA as well. So I feel like you can't really balance all these 3. So generally for hall, I'm more of a phantom. That's what they call.
You're a phantom? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
I was a phantom.
yeah, I think mainly because I was previously quite active. Then I realized that there was weekly activities going on. It really depends on your priorities. Because I was involved in all 3, that's why I have to make a decision on like what I want to give up on. And for me, that's why I left hall.
How long do you stay there for?
1 year.
Just 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And also I think the environment itself, like whether that suits you. Yeah. So
did hall life suit you?
I'll say it's fun. It's definitely because I wanted to enjoy, experience campus life.
Yeah.
And that was what I got, and it made me more independent. And yeah, I think that was a very interesting experience. Yeah.
So moving on, right, concerning your internship experiences, right, I know you worked at companies like Lululemon, L'Oreal, I think you mentioned just now, Health Promotion Board, 3M. Of all those internship experience, which one stood out to you?
Okay. I think the one that stood out was definitely L'Oreal, because I was in there for 6 months straight, and also because it's my first internship. It was a little bit challenging for me. I was an intern for 2 brands. I had like different bosses, so that was the period where I adjusted to different working styles. So I experienced bosses who are more relationship building. So and then I experienced I work with bosses who are more task oriented. So because of this, right, it kind of helped to shape me for my future internship. So I felt like that 6 months period, right, I was doing like a lot of different stuff. So I was doing like admin work, designing. I was like,
You're a designer?
Yeah, I picked up Photoshop, which was very useful for me. And I also did like more of like underground works, like carrying, setting up booth events, boxes, how to set up samples, everything. So I feel like I do a lot of like different kind of work, so which was useful, because when you get into a final landing role, like your current job now, or even the future internships, those are skills that you need to have. Yeah, and because you work with different bosses, they kind of train you how to in the future, let's say you have a challenging boss or like challenging tasks, it made me more resilient. Yeah.
What soft skills do you pick up at L'Oreal? Because when I had a conversation with one of my friends, he said that in university, technically, right, the hard skills that we pick up, right, it's not that important, but it's more of the soft skills that is more important that we take along with us in the long run. So I think that kind of soft skills cannot be picked up in classes, and that's why soft skills. That's why we do internships to get those soft skills. So what soft skills do you pick up from L'Oreal?
I think that's a very good point. Yeah, definitely soft skills. In terms of what I learned is adapting to your boss's different communication styles. So, for example, if let's say because I was working with a boss who was more task oriented, so you have to always be more proactive by like maybe following up with her on the task that needs to be done. Sometimes you can even create like Excel sheet of like maybe like a goal sheet of like your task, what is the progress like now, and then you can discuss with her. So you can I think something that I didn't used to do, but I would recommend interns or even if you are full-time to do it, is to do like weekly meetings with your boss. It can be like a simple 15 to 30 minutes one to discuss on the progress of your task, what difficulties you are facing, what help you might need, as well as how you can improve, or in general how can you develop better. Yeah, so that is, even as interns, I think you should try to get that kind of be more proactive, because your boss can also sense it. Yeah, and if they see that you are serious about your work, they will also be more willing to train you and give you more tasks to do. Yeah, so that is first. And then second also, I think in terms of interacting with different people, because sometimes we because in my role, at least for marketing wise, right, you have to speak to your vendors, external parties, and then in between, like, different functions internally. So you have to know how to really get to create a connection with them. How
build rapport.
Yeah, sometimes you speak to Chinese, switch to Chinese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just to like kind of like make sure that you get your tasks done on time. Yeah.
How did you choose FMCG? It seems to me like FMCG is the hottest industry for most business students to go to. I'm not sure whether it's the P&G brand, the Unilever brand, or the Mondelez brand, or whether it pays super well, right? But why FMCG?
Okay, FMCG, I think in deciding which industry to enter, you have to go for career talks and find out sharing from people in the industry itself. Yeah, so when I was applying for my job, I picked up 3 industries that I wanted to enter. So it was, so FMCG was part of it. It's mainly because when I did my case competitions, that was when I found that I really enjoy working for the brands that are close to people's heart, like people can find in their supermarkets, because I feel like I can make a quick change in everyone's lives. And so case competition, even during marketing modules, when I did like when the professors were sharing about different video content or different cases that this particular brand's having, is something that I enjoy. And lastly is also internships. Yeah, so you figure out what you want to do. Do you want to do product? Do you want to do maybe you like commodities, you like healthcare. Yeah, so that was when I finally decided I want FMCG.
So technically you didn't really have any internship experiences with an FMCG companies, right? Did you? Oh wait, Unilever and P&G gave that insight into FMCG, but not any internship per se.
L'Oreal.
Is L'Oreal considered FMCG? It's considered.
It's beauty.
Or beauty FMCG. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what's the terminology.
Yeah.
How is the Mondelez graduate trainee program been like so far?
I think the program itself is there's a lot of rotations, so you need to kind of be adaptable to switch around quickly and reporting to different bosses. Yeah, so for now, I'm currently in my 2nd rotation, and I'm going to change to the next rotation soon. So what I'm doing is actually cover a full-timer who's away on maternity leave. So she handles Singapore and Malaysia portfolio. So this was a really, I felt it was a very good opportunity for me, because usually it will be Singapore portfolio, but when you get like chance to take care of like international like Malaysia portfolio. I mean, even though like it's like quite nearby, but like Malaysia market is much
more
bigger.
Responsibility.
And so you really get to. So I was able to fly into Malaysia and I kind of see how the market is like there and working with different stakeholders. So I think there's an opportunity that the company can offer, and being in a rotational program is what the benefits that it can offer.
In terms of the advice you could give to some university student who is thinking of going into FMCG industry, right? What kind of advice would you give to him or her in terms of whether FMCG is for the student himself? Because I think I know what FMCG might be, but now that you have been through like you're working in FMCG, right? So what kind of traits do you think are essential for a student who is considering this in the industry?
Okay, 3 things you can work on. So first is going on internships. If you can't, if you don't have time for FMCG internships, talk to people in the industry, find out the difficulties, talk to multiple people, ask them out for coffee chats. And that's when you will learn more about the industry itself. And then second is I think FMCG, is the term suggests, it's fast moving consumer goods, so you have to be very adaptable. So you have to think quickly, move quickly. Sometimes you have to know that you might have to work long hours, but also
do you OT a lot?
It depends on like the month. Like, so towards the end of the month we do have like monthly reportings, so that's when you have to stay back a bit longer. But I think for my company it's not that bad. It's quite there's a good work-life balance compared to I've heard like other FMCG who has longer hours. So the second one is be adaptable, and then the last one is definitely, I think there's not a lot of something that I didn't realize from internship to working full time is that there's a lot of numbers. So when you are intern, people don't give you this data, but when you are working, people you get all this data. There's an influx of data, for example, like your sales performance, how you're doing like Nielsen reports, all these things you need to know how to churn them and how to like digest them.
What kind of data do you receive? Like sales of each product? Then what kind of reports do you churn from these data?
It's like how the product is doing in the market, as well as the forecasting. So something that we didn't realize, I didn't realize, was that when we come out with, let's say, this apple pie, you have to forecast like next year how much will I get to sell, and because you need to create like a demand for it before the factory produces it to you, and then there's a lot of like working with demand chain and supply chain, and basically there's deeper things like how the product gets into the market, and then you need to figure out how you can forecast
how far is this forecast? Like, is it within 1 year, or is it month over month, week over week? How do you forecast? Is it like, do you guys literally plot a chart of the trends of historical sales of a particular product and say, okay, because we have organized this campaign, that's why sales are like that? So in the future, we'll organize a campaign like that and sales will tank out, or like, is that how it's like?
I think different company does it differently. So some company actually do it like a yearly basis. Then they review every month, and then they will see what are some risks that is facing. For example, shipment delays, customer dropping orders. And for example, you can't sell in this product is expiring soon, but we can't sell it. What can we do with it? So those are the things that you need to factor in as you compared to like if you are an intern, like you don't really get that kind of information or that kind of autonomy.
So are you like an expert at Excel already? So is Excel a tangible skill set that would be useful before you enter the FMCG industry?
I think definitely work on your Excel before you enter. You can even go on YouTube and learn how to use different like pivot tables.
For myself, right, because I also use Excel all day long. So what is the top 3 functions do you think is the most life-changing in Excel? Geek talk, right? What functions do you think every person should know?
Um,
Like talk about pivot tables, right? Pivot tables, pivot tables are life changing. The thing about Excel, there's multiple ways of doing different things. Like for
Yeah.
index match, right? You can use a double. You can use a VLOOKUP and
Yeah.
you can add two cells together. But but what are the two functions that you always use?
I think the two
Two most important Excel functions.
VLOOKUP.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
VLOOKUP is very useful.
Yes, definitely. And pivot tables.
Oh, pivot
those,
tables.
Those are the two things.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
just those two lah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so moving on, right? In terms of so this is the general talk conversation, right? Are there any influencers that you look up to, you follow, books that you read, or any what content do you absorb in general?
I think in terms of role models, I don't really have one, but I feel like you can actually find role models in your day-to-day life. So, for example, if you're in school, you can look at a professor, you know, or like even like
So
a
who is your
friend.
current role model?
I think my current role model would be someone who's senior in my company. Yeah. So what I learned previously, like there was this HR module I was taking. So the prof was telling us you pick up 3 top traits from each leader.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you pick up more than that, you know, that might not be the best of the best.
Yes.
So every leader that I work for, I actually, you know, identify what are the 3 top traits, and then how I can learn from them, how do they carry it out, and what I can do to improve on it. Yeah.
At this moment of time, what are the top three qualities have you absorbed from? What are the top 3 leadership qualities that you most admire?
I think people skills, people
Okay.
management skills. So building that rapport with like people who are on the operations side. How do you build make people who work for you or who work with you more comfortable and at ease with you? That's number one. So kind of like some questions you can ask is like what are some difficulties you're facing? How can I help you feel better about it? What can I do for you? Yeah. And then the second one is being very sharp and very analytical. That's more of like the hard skill that you
Hard
need
skills.
to keep training. Yeah. So you have to think very quickly. How can you make decisions on the spot very fast? That is something that I'm still working on. Yeah. And then the last thing is also, I think, in terms of confidence. Yeah. So there's how you speak, how you carry yourself, what are the things you say. I'm also quite interested in self-help books recently. So I think there are some books that you can read. Is like how to influence friends and
Dale Carnegie, is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that's the book you're currently reading, right?
Yeah.
What are the kind of key takeaways you get from reading this book?
Okay, so the book I was reading is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah, so it's quite a popular book. I think many people have read it. I think some of the lessons I picked up is be genuinely interested in knowing people. So and also remembering people's names. Yeah. So I think when you have day-to-day conversations, we actually talk to a lot of different people, and when there is insincerity in like the way you connect with them, actually you can sense it. People can sense it. So when you're genuinely interested, you can be more open to different people sharing, be curious. If people have different way of thinking compared to you, find out why they think that way, and don't be too quick to judge. Yeah. So generally it helps you really learn about different perspectives, and also it makes the conversation flow much smoother because you're genuinely interested in them. And when you remember people's names, especially if you meet them for a short while, they will be like, oh wow.
Does the book offer any practical solution on how to remember people's names?
I think there's little tricks you can think of. For example, maybe this person reminds you of something, and then you can relate the names.
Associate the person that you meet to that particular name.
Yes, correct. Association, or some little tricks that you can tell yourself. Yeah, those are the things. Yeah.
Are there any other current books that you read which you think are worth sharing?
I think you can try. There is this one written by this monk. So I think his name is called Hei Ming San. So
Okay.
I think he has 2 books, and one of I'm actually starting on the second one. So the one that I read was Love for Imperfect Things.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's because day to day we have a lot of thoughts in our head. Sometimes we are unhappy with certain things turn out, in terms of like family, friends, relationships, or even like work. Yeah. So it helps to declutter your mind before you go to bed. Yeah. So it talks about like how you can think of it in a different perspective. How like some of the advice that he has for you. Yeah.
Is there any? Could you share a practical way that you have used this knowledge into your everyday life?
I think something that strike out to me particularly was like not try is something that is very cliche. It's like something that is meant to be will happen. You don't have to keep.
Is that Murphy's law or something? if it will happen, it will happen. Something like that.
Like don't be so hard on yourself if something doesn't work out. Yeah. And then something like you have to focus on like quality instead of like rushing for time. A quote that I kind of like live by.
Wow.
Not live by,
live by, but a strong quote that appeals to you.
Okay. No, I think generally like something that I keep reminding myself of is actually this like Chinese phrase that I've read previously. It's not from the book. It's So it's called like.
Was it in Chinese?
It's Chinese. Okay. So it's like 不要羡慕别人的花开得早，要努力让自己的花开得好。
Okay, could you translate? Don't be envious of the flowers that someone has. Focus on your own flower and how it will eventually bloom into what beauty it will have. Not may have, will have. Is it something like that?
Something like that.
Where do you pick them up?
I read it online, I think, on a forum or something. Yeah, it's basically saying that don't be envious of people who has a flower blooming very early. Instead, focus on making your flowers like bloom properly. So I think it's kind of relatable in day to day because we see people who are like doing very well, doing successfully in life.
Instagram is it? Social media.
Yeah, like same age as us, you know, like maybe in terms of like fitness, work, relationships. Yeah. Instead, like be more focused on yourself and don't really like compare. Don't try not to compare with other people because like advent of social media is kind of sometimes you feel like a bit demoralized because sometimes you cannot. When you compare yourself with other people, you'll beat yourself up, basically. So instead, think of how you can, be better, how you can work on yourself. And there's no right time. Like some people are already married, some people found a job, some are still looking. There is no right time for everyone moves at their different pace, their own pace. So take it as it go and do your best. Yeah.
How do you navigate emotions that you're unwilling to feel? Okay, the reason why I ask, right, because every one of us, we have our like Pandora's box, is it? Like the dark side of us when we go in a not nice way, like go haywire. Like all of us have our vulnerabilities that we don't want to confront certain emotions. So that gets locked up. So for myself, like let's say one fear I have, right, is being too direct with people. I like to sugarcoat things to a point where it's not helpful for either parties. So how do you deal with emotions that you aren't willing to feel?
So I actually got it from like someone who shared with me about this counseling session that she's had. So she actually asked the doctor. She was like the same question, like how can she manage her emotions? So it was broken down into 3 parts. So there's a situation, there is the emotion, and then last one is the reaction. So 3 things. So for example, the situation is maybe today you have a quarrel with your parents, or like you got maybe rejected from a job. Okay, job offer, you face rejection. Then there's the emotion behind it, which is unmotivated, or you can feel like you are not good enough, and so you might feel sad. Okay, that is normal. Those are the 2 things that you can't control: the situation and the emotion. But the only thing you can control is the reaction, how you react to the ones that I mentioned earlier. So how you react is the only thing you can control. So you can allow yourself to feel the emotion, allow yourself to be, to just cry and everything. You can you can like, tell yourself, I can do better, and then you can push yourself to get away from being valuing their emotion, basically.
So how, but in such a tough scenario, right, when emotions are so hot, right, not many people are clear-headed. Like theoretically, you understand that lah, but did your friend, how did your friend react in such cases? Like having talked to a therapist in that sense.
So basically, the situation was she got out of a relationship. Okay, and then the emotion was sadness and I think there was like suicidal thoughts.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, and then finally, right, the reaction, she can decide to. It depends on what she decides. So she actually picked out like a new hobby, or like she control. That the only thing she can do is like talk to people, or like instead of like being, let's say on days you don't really want to go out, you force yourself to go out there and make yourself do it. Yeah. So those are the things that you can really do. But of course, some people might choose to just let their emotions, like it feels better for them, they like cry out or something. Yeah, but really depends on like how you deal with it. Yeah.
Are you the person that cried out?
I think maybe like the first week or so, and
just
then
1 week lah.
Yeah, subsequently, you can do other things to help you, cope with it. Yeah.
What frustrates you?
In what sense?
In general, the first thing that comes to your mind.
One thing that frustrates me, I think, is impatience. For me personally, I feel like I have trained my patience level. Okay. Because I used to like tutor younger kids, young children. So day to day, there are a lot of people with like short tempers and impatience. So I think dealing with that kind of emotions is kind of like negative. So you can. Sometimes for me, like it's just sometimes I also get impatient. I just take a deep breath, like in and out. Okay, tell myself everything is okay, and then I'll continue with my work. And I don't know why, but it works for me. So yeah, that's basically finding ways to cope with it. Yeah.
Are there other ways that you use to cope?
Impatient in terms of what?
In being stressed out in general.
Being stressed out.
Some people like to drink. Some people like to meditate. Some people like to punch a pillow. Some people like to do random stuff.
I like to go for spin classes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll go for like absolute or like ground.
Absolute, I heard it's damn hardcore. Like, it's very tiring, right?
Yeah, but it's also very fun. I think you have to pick your spots. Yeah, so I'll go gym or go to a spin. Like sometimes just like sweat it out and. During that moment, you can think of everything and then like toss it back to the back of your head. Yeah.
That's very nice, very nice. Okay, so moving on to the last portion of the podcast, right? I'll just ask you some short fire questions. In terms of the best advice that you have ever received, what would be the best advice be?
Actually, I got it recently from one of my big boss, who was having a one-to-one with me. I think he was saying, don't be afraid of making mistakes. It sounds almost too simple, but it's also the same thing that like sometimes when we, as fresh grads, right, when we get more responsibilities, we might be afraid that we may make the wrong decisions, especially with so much autonomy. So that was when during the conversation I actually shared with him my worries, and then he told me, don't be afraid of making mistakes. And that was when I was braver to step out in my own role, because when you are afraid, when you make decisions, you need to, as long as there's a rationale behind it, you understand your rationale, you can explain your rationale. Even if you make mistakes, the company loses some amount of money, you will learn from it. And because you are so junior, you have this privilege of making mistakes, and you have also the privilege of asking questions. Yes. So just don't be afraid, go out and ask people questions. So I just
keep asking.
Yes, I just keep asking. Sometimes if they are not in Singapore, I will Skype them, can I call you, and just immediately get your answers. Yeah. So
what's the worst advice have you ever received?
I think not worst advice, but like maybe an advice I shouldn't really have taken. Is probably before I entered university. So I had seniors who told me to have fun.
Okay.
To just have fun. So that's something that I think you have to take it with a pinch of salt. To know what they mean by it. So for example, I listened to the advice. I had fun when I was in year 1, year 2, and then in year 3 I regret. And I was like, oh my god, like everyone's moving ahead. I'm still laid back. I need to do something.
1 year from now, right? What tangible things do you want to happen in terms of emotional goals, relationship goals, and career goals?
I think emotional goals will definitely be more have more control over my emotions. So currently I'm starting this thing where I have a gratitude journal, and there is this write whatever you can journal. So it's like basically scribble out your thoughts. You can draw, you can write gigantic words, basically it's a journal where you can just write whatever you are thinking of at that moment. And then another journal is like gratitude, what are you thankful of. Try to do this like every day, or if you don't have time, every week.
Where do you pick up this habit from?
Because I think I saw a lot of it on YouTube, and then I was discussing with Leonard one of the days. How can you keep your emotions in check? How can you be more in control of your emotions, or like kind of figure out why you're feeling this way? So it's I think it's quite good because it's an outlet for you to to kind of
release it.
Yes, and one day you'll look back, and then you'll be like, oh, I felt this way that time. Or if you're having a down period, you can say, oh, I got through it last time.
For myself, I do video journals. So I've been doing a video journal since my university days already. So I think it's quite interesting. For yourself, right, is looking back at things you have wrote, right? I literally look back at who I was. And it's quite fascinating. I think journaling is an interesting thing. Career goals?
Career, I think this year I will be finishing up my rotation end of the year, so definitely doing my best to learn and pick up new skills from different departments, from different bosses, working with different bosses also, and I think ultimately be more open, because I feel like I'm still a sponge that's who's absorbing more information. And then finally also figuring out what I want to the rotation, the final role that I want to be in. Maybe explore areas that I wasn't very in touch with. For example, like sales. How can I interact with, or like operations side.
I mean, do you get to decide the final role, or is it dependent on vacancy?
I think it depends on vacancy, and also depends on your interest, as well as what the company needs at that moment. So it's also quite, I don't know what will happen at the end of the year. But I think the company there's a lot of opportunities available.
Relationship goals?
I think relationship will definitely be spending more time with my family and friends. Because previously I was more focused on finding a job.
There's a lot of stress on us to find a job, everything, to get our shit together. So at that point of time, probably we worked a lot, we weren't at home a lot, didn't have time. But now that there's the kind of stability that you have, then you want to step back and enjoy it later. And also really choosing who you want to spend more time with, because we have limited amount of time when you start working, so you don't want to waste it. You want to catch up with friends that you really genuinely want to want to catch up with. Okay, Sherrine, thanks so much for coming on this podcast, right? If there are people interested to reach out to you in terms of finding out how is it like Mondelez in terms of your journey as an NUS business student all the way to joining the company, where can they reach out to you? Are you active on LinkedIn, Instagram? What is your social media platform?
Definitely LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is it?
So you can drop me a message for coffee chat.
Okay.
Or like Skype call. Okay,
thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.